Have you ever wondered what sparked the fire that became the First World War? Let's cast our minds back to the early 20th century, a time when the world was a complex web of alliances and treaties. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, was a spark that ignited a powder keg of global tensions. June 28, 1914. The Archduke and his wife Sophie were visiting Sarajevo, the capital of Bosnia. Gavrilo Princip, a member of a Serbian nationalist group, shot them both in a tragic act of political violence. This event, seemingly isolated, was the catalyst for a conflict that would span the globe. But why did the murder of one man lead to such widespread upheaval? The answer lies in the intricate system of alliances that existed at the time. The assassination of Franz Ferdinand put Austria-Hungary and Serbia at odds. Austria-Hungary, backed by Germany, declared war on Serbia, who was supported by Russia. This set off a domino effect, pulling in country after country due to the intricate web of alliances and treaties. France, allied with Russia, was drawn into the conflict. Germany, in support of Austria-Hungary, declared war on Russia and France. The United Kingdom, bound by the Entente Cordiale with France, also entered the fray. The world was like a grand chessboard, and the players were the world's most powerful nations. Each move, each declaration of war, was a carefully calculated decision based on a complex web of alliances. It was a world where a single event, like the assassination of an archduke, could set off a chain reaction leading to a global conflict. The world was poised on the edge of a precipice, teetering between peace and war. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand was not just a tragic event, but an unseen catalyst that set the world on a path to destruction. The world was at the brink, and the assassination of the Archduke was the push it needed to plunge into chaos. And so the world was at war, but what exactly happened in those 4 long years? Picture this. The year is 1914 and the world is plunged into a conflict like no other. The First World War, also known as the Great War, was an unprecedented global conflict that reshaped the face of warfare and the world's geopolitical landscape. The war began with a series of swift and brutal offensives. In the first few months, armies marched across Europe, but the war quickly stagnated into a deadly stalemate. The Western Front, a trench line stretching from the Swiss border to the North Sea, became a grueling war of attrition. In the midst of this, 2 significant battles stand out: the Battle of the Somme and the Battle of Verdun. The Battle of the Somme, fought in 1916, was one of the largest battles of the war. It was marked by heavy losses on both sides and little territorial gain. The Battle of Verdun, also in 1916, was one of the longest and most devastating battles in human history. Its objective was to bleed the French army dry. As the war progressed, it became clear that this was not just a war of soldiers, but also a war of machines. Technology played a crucial role in the outcome of the conflict. The introduction of weapons such as machine guns, poison gas, tanks, and aircraft transformed the nature of warfare. It was no longer about the courage of individual soldiers on the battlefield, but about the power and efficiency of destructive technology. The strategies and tactics used by the different forces evolved over the course of the war. In the beginning, the focus was on rapid movement and decisive victories. However, as the war dragged on, it became a battle of endurance. Armies dug in, creating intricate trench systems and fortifications. The focus shifted to wearing down the enemy through constant attacking and counterattacking, a strategy known as attrition. The war was not just fought on the battlefields but also in the hearts and minds of those at home. The war was over, but what was the cost? It was a question that echoed through the hearts and minds of millions. The First World War had left an indelible mark on the world, its impact stretching far beyond the battlegrounds. The human toll was staggering, with casualties soaring into the millions. Soldiers returned home carrying not just physical wounds, but also the psychological scars of the horrors they had witnessed. These brave men and women, thrown into a conflict beyond comprehension, were forever changed. They came back to society struggling to understand the magnitude of the trauma they had endured. The war had torn families apart, left cities in ruins, and introduced the world to a new level of devastation. Beyond the human cost, the geopolitical landscape of the world was forever altered. Empires that had stood for centuries crumbled, their downfall a direct result of the ravages of war. The map of Europe was redrawn, as new nations arose from the ashes of fallen empires. The world was thrust into a new era, one defined by uncertainty and change. Among these changes was the signing of the Treaty of Versailles, This document, meant to ensure peace, was in fact a catalyst for further conflict. The treaty placed the blame for the war squarely on Germany, imposing heavy financial reparations and territorial losses. This not only humiliated the German people but also sowed the seeds of resentment and anger that would eventually lead to the Second World War. The aftershocks of the First World War were felt across the globe. The conflict had changed the world in ways that were unimaginable before 1914. It had shown the destructive potential of modern warfare, reshaped the political landscape, and left a legacy of trauma that would be carried by generations. The war had ended, but its effects would continue to be felt for generations to come. The First World War was not just a historical event, it was a turning point that defined the course of the 20th century and beyond. So, what can we learn from the First World War? Let's pause and reflect on the key points we've discussed. This conflict, with its unprecedented scale and devastation, forever altered the course of human history. Its causes, deeply rooted in nationalism, imperialism, and a tangle of alliances, serve as a stark reminder of the destructive potential when diplomacy fails. Moreover, the war's aftermath, with the transformation of political landscapes and the birth of new nations, underscores the lasting impact of large-scale conflicts on global dynamics. The war also brought forth significant advancements in technology and warfare that continue to shape conflicts today. Understanding the First World War, its causes and its consequences is paramount. It helps us comprehend our present, learn from our past, and hopefully, guides us towards a future where such a catastrophe is averted. The First World War was a catalyst for change, a lesson from history that continues to echo in our present.